As we prepare for the new year, I would love to share my scheduling process with you. So we're going to do that today. Welcome to the Up in My Business podcast with me, Lex Lancaster, where you'll get an inside look at all things tech, business, and my life as a physical therapist turned digital operations expert. You'll hear all about my lessons as a business owner, the ins and outs of tech for your business, and more. From SEO, websites, and email marketing to automations, launches, and copywriting, I've got you. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. Before we get started today, I need to give a shout out to my favorite EMR and practice management software, Jane App, what is also the sponsor of today's show. You might already be familiar with the name, but if it's new to you, Jane is a HIPAA-compliant clinic management software and EMR and the sponsor of Up in My Business. Chasing down patients or clients for important information isn't anyone's idea of a good time, especially when there are forms to be filled out, payments to be processed, and consents to be collected. And that's why Jane has designed user-friendly online intake forms so you can gather all the information you need ahead of the appointment. It really is the best, you guys. Whether that's health history, insurance details, or a credit card on file, super, super important there. Jane will even send a friendly reminder 24 hours prior to a patient's appointment if they haven't completed their intake form yet. This saves you from having to manually follow up on your end. To see Jane in action, head to my show notes to book a personalized demo, or if you're ready to get started, you can use the code LEX1MO at the time of sign up for a 1-month grace period applied to your new Jane account. Welcome back to another episode of Up in My Business. Today we are chatting scheduling for the new year. Now, when I say that, I mean actually building the space for what you're going to do as a business owner. I first learned this method from both Shantae Cofield, obviously the Movement Maestro. I just said Shantae Cofield. That is very weird. The Movement Maestro, Shantae. I learned this from her as well as Emma Jack. So the blend of the two have taught me how to actually schedule my time. And I have been doing this since early 2023 and it works amazingly. So here's the deal. I use two things to make this schedule happen. I have a yearly calendar. So you go to Amazon, go to either, I think Shantae has it in her store, but you just get a yearly calendar. And I don't mean like a flip book. Like I mean a big calendar you put on your wall. And then I also use Google Cal. So I'll just open up Google Calendar on my screen, on my computer screen, and I will do what I'm about to tell you. So two things that I use, Google Calendar and then the yearly calendar, the big yearly calendar. Now, I typically only let people schedule 3 months in advance because things change, right? So number one, when we're looking at building our schedule out, ideally we have 3 months in advance available, but I'm not asking you to schedule out your entire year minute by minute. Should you have your launches planned on a calendar? Yes. And if you need help with this, I'm going to tell you, like, go book a call with Shantae. Like, she will help you plan that part out. But anyway, you should know your launches and when you're doing that stuff, because then you can retroactively plan. But when we're deciding like when we're going to take calls and when we have fun stuff planned or when we're going on vacation, that yearly calendar is very helpful, and also Google Calendar. So what I do is I have Google Calendar and I have color-coded blocks for each type of thing that I want to add in, right? So when I think about that, I have different types of calls that I offer. I have different services I offer. Regardless of what you offer, the first thing you should be putting in your calendar is your fun stuff, or like your non-negotiables, if you will. So for me, I have volleyball, and then I also have our morning routine. So I have learned that while I love the morning hours, I am super off if I don't do our morning routine as normal. So just taking a slow morning and making breakfast, eating breakfast, having coffee, like I need a slow morning. So in my mind, that's always going on the calendar. So I decide when I start my day. I also decide when I end my day. So when it comes to ending my day, I have calls at night from 4 p.m. PST to 6 p.m. PST 3 times a week during certain parts of the year. So ideally, my day starts at 10 and ends at 4. So in between those hours of 10 and 4, it's free game, right? So it's open for whatever I need to schedule in. So the first thing is always putting your fun stuff and your non-negotiables in your calendar. I even have a box that I put in every single Monday and Wednesday and some Tuesdays that's a half an hour long, and it's just to check emails and like catch up, because if I don't put it in there and I just schedule clients from 10 to 4, now I have no time to actually do some stuff that I need to do. So anyway, schedule in your fun stuff, and then the rest is up to you. So when it comes to actually building out your schedule, once you have your fun stuff in, you get to decide the rest. For me, my live calls are only on Tuesday and Thursday, period. My back-end client work is Monday and Wednesday. So I will schedule in blocks of time on the back end of my Google Calendar, and I will color code it, and I'll put open call time. I have calls that are specifically for current clients and calls that are for anybody. So what that means is that my current clients have access to more hours on my schedule, as it should be. And then new clients have access to less hours on my schedule. So new clients, one-off calls, like much less access to my time than my active clients. So that's what I put in there. I put in, okay, it's Tuesday. What hours am I going to reserve for my current clients? And what hours are going to be open to the public? And I actually separate it out, right? So I actually put both of those things on the calendar. Now, you may only have one type of appointment. That's fine. But also remember, you can put your lunch in your calendar. You can put little break periods in your calendar, whatever that may be. The bottom line, and when I look at my weeks, I actually schedule in every single possible thing, and then I adjust my availability in my online scheduler so that, only those hours are available. And then everything else is just open time. So once I schedule in what I need to schedule, I have time built in that's like overflow time. So if I need to squeeze someone in who's a current client, that's fine. Or I have my do it in a day days. I know exactly how many I have open or how many I don't have open. Schedule everything in. And using the big wall calendar to know exactly when your launches are can really help, because now when we build out our Google Calendar, we can say, oh, I don't want to have a full day of clients the first day I'm launching, on March 15th. Like that doesn't make sense. So I'm going to block off March 15th because I know I'll be busy within my business and I need to be actively promoting whatever I'm launching. So to clear any questions, concerns up here, the biggest thing that we want to make sure we have is, one, we want to make sure that we have the big 12-month wall calendar. That allows us to plan our whole year. We know when all of our launches are going to be. And then we want to make sure we use something like Google Calendar, or if you use iCal, whatever, to actually schedule in whatever we're doing. So first thing we're going to put in there is fun and non-negotiables. So nothing business related, or maybe it is, whatever it is, but it's fun. It's fun. It's a non-negotiable. So whatever those are, you put them in. Whatever's important to you, right? That's how we make sure that we get the thing done. 2, we're going to schedule in, as specific as we can, what we want to see during specific periods. For me, Tuesday and Thursdays are call days. Monday, Wednesday are back-end work days. Friday is my flex day. I have nothing scheduled. I decide what I do with my Friday, always. Either I'm working in my business or I'm going to the beach with the dog with Shantae. Like, we decide what we do on our Fridays. It's always our flex day. Used more for work in the winter and more for fun in the summer, but that's the beauty of a flex day, right? So you get to decide how you split up your schedule. If you're a brick and mortar practice owner, you may be choosing your slots based on when you want your lunch. When do you want to see a new patient? When do you want to see like an evaluation? When do you want to take discovery calls? When do you want to take follow-ups? All of that matters, and be super specific about it. Like, I personally would never want to have a new patient at 4 p.m. when I'm about to finish my day. I don't want a new patient. I want to make sure I have a follow-up there or a discovery call, whatever that ends up being, but I certainly don't want an evaluation there. You have control over this. You can make sure that people are not scheduling evaluations at 4 p.m., right? We get to say, and we get the say of who schedules what when. So be specific when you're doing this. That way you have full control over your week and you know what your week is going to look like, right? Create some predictability and make sure that we set things up in a way that makes our body feel good and allows us to show up in our business with, overflowing cup, as opposed to being like, well, I've had 4 evaluations today, which sounds crazy to me. I've had 4 evaluations today because my schedule was open to anything and I had 4 eval schedule. Like, that sounds terrible. So knowing, I'm only going to take 2 evaluations per day or 1, and then I'm not going to see them at 4, but maybe they're at 8. And I think the biggest thing, because that's really all I've got, like that's how I schedule my day. I make sure my fun is there first, and then I schedule in as specific as I can be what type of client I want to see at what specific time. I schedule in my breaks. I also take breaks when I want to take breaks. So if you're one of those people who just like does a little bit of work, takes a 5-minute break, does a little bit of work, takes a 5-minute break, also okay. But I do want to just say before I close out this episode, one of the biggest pushbacks that I get from people when I say like, hey, if you need help setting up your schedule in a week that works for you and assessing your week, go book a call with Shantae. But if you're thinking like, okay, Lex, like I get it and I'm happy to do it, but people aren't going to do this. Like, I can't possibly see initial evaluations at 9 a.m. on Monday or Wednesday. I'm going to push back and tell you that when I was in New Hampshire, I was going to a new dentist, and this dentist was cash-based, so it was out of pocket. And when I called, I had to do a discovery call, which is fine. And then they asked me, okay, so when do you want to see the doctor for your initial evaluation? He sees new patients. Again, I just dropped my pen. He sees new patients at 8 or 9 a.m. on Monday or Wednesday. Do you want an 8 on Monday, an 8 on Wednesday, a 9 on Monday, or a 9 on Wednesday? I had 4 options to choose from, and I made it work, right? And everybody makes it work. So regardless of where your head's at, as far as like what you want to see when, just know that we need to give people more credit for making things work for you, because your schedule matters, and how you show up in your business with 100% and with a clear brain space to give everybody your best matters. So set your schedule up accordingly, because if you don't, you're going to end up showing up in your business at whatever time it takes or after however long with a little bit of resentment. Maybe you're tired, maybe you're not feeling good in your body. Like, it can show up in a lot of different ways, but knowing what works for you, knowing what doesn't work for you, and knowing that you can change it at any time is really powerful. And after owning a clinic, like, I know this is how we set up the schedule. It was like, I don't want to see evals at 4. I want to see new patients at 8 and 9, and that's it. So give yourself the opportunity to set your schedule up in a way that serves you best, and get yourself that yearly calendar, set it up on Google Cal, schedule it all out first. Or if you want to do it right in Jane app, you can do it right in Jane, schedule everything out, and then make it fit your life. Always with the fun and non-negotiables first, and then we be as specific as we possibly can with everything else we put in our schedule. We can schedule in our breaks if we want. We can schedule in our lunch. We can schedule in our dinner. Whatever works for you. Be specific with the appointments, initial evals versus discovery calls versus follow-ups versus, strength training sessions. Are we exercising that day? Schedule it all in, and then build out your calendar accordingly. And once again, I will shamelessly pitch, if you need help building out your calendar, book a call with Shantae. She is originally how I did this in early 2023 or late 2022. So it's really, really helpful to understand like what our week looks like, how we audit it, and then how can we actually change it. All right, friends, that's all I have for you. I'm completely out of breath, and I need to learn how to speak and talk on this podcast without losing my breath. So if you have a podcast and you can relate, I'd love to know, because I seriously cannot record more than 2 of them without feeling like I'm gasping for air. And I know this is a carbon dioxide management problem, and just pushing out all that carbon dioxide and not having a way to, I guess, recuperate it. And I need to speak from my stomach instead of my throat, but I digress. That's all I have for you. Thank you so much for listening. I will catch you next time.